folks, welcome to Wednesday. We're gonna keep it really simple today because I'm expecting a visit from my dad soon, probably in an hour and a half-ish. And I'm still feeling kind of sick. And my aunt and uncle in Beijing recommended that I make some pear soup for myself. It's, I guess, a Chinese home remedy of sorts to assist you in colds, and that's what we're gonna do. I did cut my hair. We have some baby pears that I purchased from the farmer's market this past weekend, and I have some leftover pear syrup from the last time I made pear soup. I think we're going to maybe cook 3 of these. I'm gonna see which ones are the softest. What up, Australia? And yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing anything else. Just taking it really slow, watching it simmer. Maybe I'll start mixing up a batter of gingerbread finally, but I don't know if I'm gonna bake it. We'll see. Yeah, just thinking through some things, and month over month we have lost about 200 subscribers. This is the first time in my personal YouTube channel history that I have lost subscribers month over month. Sub counts dip and ebb and flow and all of that, but for sure, people are not liking this so-called content, which I'm perfectly fine with. I am thinking that there's no way that we can like keep doing the same shit having seen what we've seen, which is very similar to, I think, how the pandemic changed a lot of people's lifestyles and frameworks. I think this is a healthy move for me, and I hope for those of you who choose to stay. I hope to think about the ways in which we can kind of harness all the tools that we have to begin to think more broadly, think more comprehensively, and think more creatively, and clue each other into ideas and resources that will expand our imagination and vision of what is possible. I think that will be more fulfilling than me doing the same old shit over and over again. I just don't have it in me to do the same old shit. So that's where we're at. These are the 3 pears that I have chosen as tribute, and I guess we will give them a rinse and put them in a pot. I'm going to pull up chat so I can see what y'all are talking about, and welcome to Wednesday. Hi, Tennessee. I never put away the kale that we washed yesterday. It's still chilling. I guess I'm default dehydrating it at this point. It's kind of funny. And the fact that people still choose to stay no matter what I do is like the greatest fulfillment of all. I think this is a more horizontal kind of connection rather than a content creator audience dynamic, which has always felt weird to me. Does not feel natural. The traditional content creator audience module of relating to each other feels so like paradoxical, because the audience is reliant on the content creator for their own entertainment and joy and consumption, and then at the same time the creator has control but also is like always beholden to the audience in a certain way. And I'm not saying that I'm completely free of that dynamic. Obviously it's still the same structure, but it is interesting to kind of break from that I'm doing this to serve you, and more of like I'm doing this because I feel like it. Cincinnati, Amsterdam, California. And I just have to say, like, I have learned so much from everyone who tunes into these silly little live streams of depression, rants, and discontent. And it's helped me see myself in a lot of ways that I never expected to. So it's been pretty amazing to see what came out of a silly decision to go live one day after so many people asked me why I don't have my own channel. I'm like, well, I could, I guess. These little pears are very hard. I was not expecting them to be this hard, but they are. And I'm very curious what they taste like this hard. So I'm going to cut a little sliver and give you a little taste test. Crunchy. Wow. It's like a tart apple almost. Hello from Kiel. Where's Kiel? What up, North Cal? Okay. So here's my previous pear liquid. It has vanilla sugar and a little bit of leftover wine and cinnamon. And I think I'm gonna add in more of those. This is not a traditional Chinese concoction anymore at this stage because the Chinese version just has water, pear, and rock sugar. But this is what I had, so this is what we're gonna do. You know, I myself am not traditionally Chinese either, so it fits. Ah, Northern Germany, cool. Let's see what Dad says. Okay, this is gonna be a very short stream because Dad's arriving half an hour earlier than expected. Guys, I have to give myself a gold star. I hope I didn't hurt my dad's feelings via text, but I think I did a pretty awesome job of like being transparent with my feelings about how his actions was impacting my feelings and how that related to, you know, the kind of trust dynamic that I already had going with him. And I feel like he has changed his way of letting me know the details. So right now I said, hey, good morning. Did you make final decisions about today's plans? And he said, yeah, me and so are going to come at 11:30. Is that okay? Or you can pick a time. This is exactly what I need in my relationships, no matter what kind of relationships. I just learned this term co-creative. I like co-creative solutions where the two parties engaged come to that decision making together. I think because of the fact that I was an immigrant at a very young age, twice over, once to Japan and, oh, there's a hair, and once to America, that, you know, both times I had no choice in the matter, so I was kind of just like uprooted and plopped into a wholly foreign scenario where I didn't know the culture, didn't know the language, didn't have friends, and only had my parents. And, you know, that was probably like as big a trauma as anything else I've experienced in life, because just to have your entire life kind of swapped like that is very scary. Um, and obviously, all the experiences of being a foreigner, of being disoriented, of being rejected socially. So I think now in my adulthood, like that is a very triggering thing for me when other people make decisions for me, when other people hand me plans without asking me first what I want. I think that um, feels very blindsided to me in a way that makes me feel ambushed. Um, so this is cool. Um, I hope to continue on this journey of self discovery and sorting out my emotions and not reacting in a triggered place from a triggered place. But, um, the kind of inner child, inner parent dynamic definitely needs to be developed. Um, and I think I always knew about the concept of the inner child being like a wounded, kind of arrested development mentality, psychology that is trapped within, and the impetus of a lot of decisions and actions and behaviors and patterns for myself. But I think the inner parent is a relatively new concept for me where I have to come in from a adult healed position and kind of talk to myself, that inner child component of like, yo, you're not unsafe like you were. You have more control over your life details and directions now. Let's just talk about it. So, in a way, I have to almost learn how to come to the practice of co creating solutions with myself first. Um, and I think I've been acting from a place of just like immediate defensive mechanisms where I'm just like, this person is trying to hurt me. How dare you try to hurt me? So there's an anger component to it. Um, and there's also like a, oh fuck, I don't want to get hurt. Like, let me escape. Um, I don't know if that's more anxious attachment or fearful avoidant attachment. There's, and it's all kind of a spectrum. I don't think I really need a label, but I do feel like I identify with um, both of those attachment styles quite a bit. And so it's been a fascinating couple of weeks learning about these theories and trying to see how they can assist me in becoming someone who's more at peace with herself. So thank you all for accompanying me on my journey. Hi Megan, and bye Megan. I didn't even see. Qatar, what up Qatar? And do you have any planned menu for year-end dinner party or something? No, I don't. I don't really like people that much. Not in terms of like a misanthropic way, although I am kind of misanthropic, but more in terms of like I really don't want to gather with people. Those gatherings are not exactly completely unpleasant, but they really do drain me quite a bit, and I'm just not feeling it right now, especially because I'm still sick. Um, so yes, that's where we're at, and I've been back on Instagram with some Q&A formatting of kind of digesting and decompressing everyone's feelings about where we are emotionally, psychologically, socially, politically, almost 3 months in to the genocide in Palestine and still witnessing ongoing expansion of violence. Now the West Bank is being attacked. People are being executed point blank. There's just a lot that doesn't seem to stop. And it's been fascinating to see echoes of my exact feelings of like, I want to do something, I don't know what to do, I'm feeling hopeless, and I'm exhausted. And there's also people who are chiming in with this like very solid, persistent, faithful determination that we just have to find a way that is sustainable for us to keep going the way we've been going and to make this a part of a lifestyle, right? It's always about making it a lifestyle. It's not crash diets don't work, and violent exercising doesn't work. You have to make it sustainable for yourself. There's also a lot of theories and education about, what it looks like to be a part of a political movement that's more globalized and not just centered from the US perspective. And it's been enlightening. I think we have to take a step back when we see ourselves being like very emotionally exhausted and triggered. Just like when I'm figuring out my own psychology for my own personal relationship issues. Because I guess in this sense, the political is also personal in that it does affect us, right? Like we are part of the system that we feel kind of helpless in. How can we develop a feeling of agency? Because if we're always acting from a triggered place, like I have been, it's not sustainable and it doesn't actually affect long-term change, and you keep enacting the same dynamics that you've always been entrapped in, and it doesn't feel like anything's getting any easier. You just end up antagonizing a lot more people who might not have meant to hurt you, but you read hurtful interpretations on them. Now we know that our government is really not determined to protect us, but to protect the idea of capital and profit. So it's not exactly the same as an interpersonal connection, but there are parallels that I think can be applied to both situations where we just have to see how we can take more agency in the way that we live our lives personally and politically. And even if you're not a person who wants to engage in politics per se, I do feel like the way that we interact with people, the way that we interact with various levels of communities is in a way a political arrangement. But, there's different definitions of what politics is, and I think that can fluctuate with how we interpret that word. But at the end of the day, it's all about how do we sustain ourselves in a world that currently is very much operating under relatively unsustainable terms. So I hope that we can find some joy in imagining alternatives and also opening our eyes up to the alternatives that are already existing that may not be taking place locally to us, but can act as north stars in a way for us to see that, yeah, it is possible. Yeah, it's also not perfect, but we can always experiment, because if we don't experiment, then we just end up replaying the same Groundhog Day of shit. So there it is. I look forward to seeing my dad. And I'm saying this out loud to kind of like convince me. You know how they have those scientific studies that tell you that if you're feeling down, if you just like physically make yourself smile, that it kind of triggers your brain to follow suit and believe that you're happier than you are. And I think it is quite impactful because I've been watching a lot of these videos that talk about like attachment theory, and it's not always really happy topics, but the presenter is always smiling as they're talking. And I am feeling it as I'm smiling right now, that there is like a lightness and almost like a tickling lift sensation happening across my shoulders, up my neck, through my scalp, and into my face muscles. So there is a lot of mind over matter thinking in our culture, and especially in the Western culture. But I do feel like we have been deprioritizing our body and bodily sensations and bodily reality and body experiencing to the point where like we're neglecting ourselves. So I think I will enjoy this visit because, especially with, processing mom's death and thinking about my relationships with people in my life. Like I went to see grandma this morning, and she has refused to go outdoors for almost 2 months now, because of various reasons. And today I saw that she had her scarf and her winter jacket out. And I was like, oh, grandma, why did you take these out? And she was like, oh, well, the last few nights, the Japanese have invaded America. And America, well, they don't even have military defense. LOL, Grandma, if we didn't have military defense, we would have healthcare and education, maybe. But anyway, she was like, yeah, the Japanese are invading, and, I'm getting ready to flee, and there's this old man who has an airplane outside, and he can take us if the invasion is, like, imminent enough. And I was like, oh, what's this guy's name? And she was like, I don't know, but he's ready to take me home. And I was like, okay, Grandma. And, like, I don't know if this is just her dream state, her imagined reality that is very much real for her, or if she's, like, actually on a spiritual realm, like, closer to death. I don't know. Whatever it may be, she certainly has a lot of physical energy to run through her closet and pull out all those things that I put into very strategically clean and tucked away places. Um, but I kind of just like sat in my body that moment, and I felt the fatigue, and I felt the kind of emotional and psychological strain of processing, okay, Grandma's living this reality. It's not real. I'm also processing the fact that she said the US doesn't have military defense, and I was like, damn, that would be good, huh? LOL. And so there's a lot of thought processing going on, and I kind of just was like, okay, Grandma. So then I said, how will you let me know if you're leaving? And she said, I don't know when it's coming. I don't know when I have to go. And I was like, okay, well, if I don't see you again, I'll see you in the next life. And she was just like, oh yeah, like I'll be back in China. So don't worry about me. And she seemed ready to leave me. Like, she did not seem emotionally attached to me at all. She did not seem to be sad about the fact that we might never see each other again, which is kind of like calming for me, because it was clear for me in that moment that I have been projecting so much of my sadness onto Grandma about this whole situation, but she's not maybe experiencing that same level of sadness. So in this whole time, I've been making myself depressed and sad because I was living in a reality that Grandma was definitely not participating in. I feel like, oh, if I don't visit Grandma every day, she's going to think that I abandoned her, or she's going to feel sad that nobody's visiting her for a couple of days. But in Grandma's mind, like, she's fine. She's an independent woman, goddammit, and she don't need no man. So, it's interesting, y'all. I continue to be fascinated by everything that I've been learning. Um, this smells really good. It smells peary and soapy and sweet and fruity and candy-like. I would like to add a little bit more sugar. And now that I have Chinese sugar, I'll add in some Chinese sugar. You can soup anything. Who's stopping you from souping everything? You are. Soup is essentially just boiling shit together, right? I don't know what my hair looks like in the back. Again, I cut this last night. I think I had a slight mental tension, and I was just like, I need to do something to my hair. So I did it. I'm not sure about these bangs. I actually told myself almost 5 years ago, when I last had bangs, that I'm too old to have bangs, and I still agree that I'm too old to have bangs. But the good thing is these bangs are actually long enough for me to just pull them up into a half pony. And then bangs be gone. Okay, I would say that jams are just very, very concentrated soups, and you can dilute jams, you know? So, yeah. I like shorter hair on me. It's easier to take care of. My hair after, oh, there's unevenness, whatever. my hair, after it gets to a certain length, starts curling on itself, like not in a beautiful luscious curls way, but in like a kind of like frizzy like tangled way. So I was actually motivated after watching yesterday's live on replay to catch some of your comments. I was like, damn, my hair looks damaged as fuck. And the length just wasn't right, and I wasn't feeling it. So chop chop. Now it's gone. And now we have room to grow. Dad is coming maybe at 11:30, so half an hour. Okay, so it's really awkward. My dad's getting a ride from my uncle and my aunt, and I literally cannot say, yeah, let them drive away after having them drive you here. So I think I'm just gonna try to invite everyone up. Oh well. Whatever. Guys, we're gonna do some emotional regulation right now. I feel my brain exploding like a supernova beyond myself, and it feels both adrenaline charged and overwhelming and bright and overstimulating. So I have been feeling this tension in my right mid back since this morning, and it's now getting worse and pulsing. I'm drawing myself into my body, and I'm noticing a quiver in my voice, which means I'm getting emotionally unsettled and agitated. I feel a little bit of teariness coming up and collecting behind my nasal sinuses and my like eye corner cavities. And I feel my chest a little bit foggy and cloudy, and the rest of me seems to be okay. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to visualize what it means to have everybody come up. I'm going to invite everybody with a mask on and say, I'm so sorry, I'm still sick, and my apartment doesn't have enough chairs to hold everyone, but I'm going to collect the chairs that I do have, and some of you are just going to have to make do. I'm going to offer them some tea. I'm going to talk with them for hopefully no more than half an hour, and then I'm going to invite them all to go out for lunch together somewhere close by. And then I'll ask my dad if he would like to come back to the apartment after lunch to talk a little bit more, and if he doesn't, then I'll see him the next time he visits. And I feel my chest loosening. I feel my shoulders relaxing. I feel the pulsing tension in my mid-right back still there, but a little bit sunken in and a little bit relaxed. I feel the sinus pull disappearing, and my voice is my voice because I'm still sick, but I'm a little bit calmer now. I'm tuning into the blue of my backsplash. I'm tuning into the lighting of the microwave overhead on my white stove that looks like I could use a wipe. I'm tuning into the sounds of the pear soup bubbling, the viscosity of the sugars melting into the pear disintegrating into the water, the color of the red sugar diffusing into the liquid to make it look like molassesy. I'm feeling the temperature of the spoon, quite hot on my fingers. And now I'm going to take 3 dings on the bowl before I go back to my phone and confirm with my dad what's happening. Let's use mom's spatula. I'm gonna breathe with the spirit of mom, whatever I can collect in this moment. Very clear, sharp sounds to wake me up. And now we're going to round out with maybe a softer utensil to see if we can get ourselves a little bit more soft, sweet, and relaxed. That's too relaxed. We need some spine in here. Where's the spine? There we go. I guess this is the spoon. So many different sounds to represent so many different feelings. Okay, well that was fun. I do feel a little bit of gripe about the choices my dad makes. Like, he could just be transparent about it all. I mean, especially from a Chinese cultural context, it's pretty awful to have someone drive you here and not have them be invited to be a part of the gathering, you know? So he had 2 options in my mind. One, pay for a ride to get here without asking my aunt and uncle to do it. But hey, I guess it's family and they want to do it. I don't know. Or 2, just let me know earlier that everybody's going to be involved. Yeah. Yeah. But my gut says, you know what? If they all want to come up knowing that I'm sick, and I hope to dear God that my dad told them, and if he didn't tell them, I'm going to let them know when I first see them that I am sick. I also recognize that my responsibility and my part in feeling all of these emotional rushes is very much influenced by the fact that it's been a very long time since I've last seen him in the flesh. A lot has happened since I last seen him in the flesh. So there's already a lot of baseline emotions of uncertainty and grief. And lack of clarity. So I'm going to tap into my inner parent a little bit and see what's going on inside. I don't know if it's healthy or mentally ill, and again, I think it does just come down to personal preference and societal labels, but I do really like to visually imagine all the scenarios of possibility and choices. So it really does help me to kind of envision what it would feel like to invite everybody up, and what would happen when I invite everybody up. I think it matters the emotional baseline that I'm working off of. I think it matters that I clear my anxieties off the table before I invite that mental imagining onto myself. But I think it does help me make a slightly more gut informed choice where I'm allowing myself to take up the time and the space to live through, based off of what I know about myself, what all of these options would feel like once enacted. I know that this might be triggering and anxiety inducing for a lot of folks, but I think that's because your emotion regulation is probably not at a calm baseline when you're inviting that kind of rumination and thought into play, which I'm certainly guilty of a lot of the times. I don't get out of bed until like 8:30 these days, Siobhan, so you're good. You're an early riser according to my books. So, let me get some tea going, I guess. Yeah, it can definitely go into catastrophizing mode for sure. If I'm not careful, it definitely goes there. Yeah, and it is possible to lose track between catastrophizing and preparing. But I think that's where regulating yourself comes into play, which is a skill that I think needs practice on my end for sure. How not to let my anxieties and patterns sink me in to a reality that hasn't happened yet. And I think Carrie's point, yeah, like sometimes people don't tell you all the details and you're embarrassed to ask, and then it's that anxiety that builds up. Dad said he's already discussed with Uncle and they will not be joining, which that's on my dad. You're right. So this is another thing that I've been working on too, is enmeshment. Enmeshment is when you can't separate, you don't have boundaries between you and another person, and you can't separate your emotional state from another person's emotional state. So in this case, I'm feeling the guilt of thinking, oh, my uncle's driving my dad all this way and then he's not getting invited to this thing. That's my guilt. My dad's already made a choice. I need to stop projecting my guilt and the feelings that that guilt is dragging up onto my dad's choice. I need to respect my dad's choice and let him make his own choices. And I need to learn to resolve that guilt within myself so that I can come back to respecting my dad's decisions and also taking him at face value, which I think has been very hard for me to do because Chinese culture does not take a lot of things at face value. A lot of things are hinted at, a lot of things are euphemistically alluded to, a lot of motives are hidden. That is another cultural struggle that I've been trying to work through. And it's just like something that is very much at odds with um, who I want to be. And I think probably due to a whole slew of other comorbid behaviors of like people pleasing in order to be accepted, because I was never really accepted as a kid, um, it's led me to become enmeshed with everyone, including absolute strangers, um, which has been making me extremely depressed and sad, because I'm taking on all of this psychological pressure that I can't confirm is indeed the other person's reality, but I'm assuming that it is. And that's just, in a way, unnecessary, right? Like, I'm doing all this work, and for whom? And I realize now, as I'm saying this, this is exactly what my mother did. She always worried about me, even when I did not want her to worry about me. She always bought me stuff, even when I did not want those things. She always wanted to give me money so that I could go out to eat and enjoy life a little bit more, even when I didn't want her money, and especially made me so angry when she kept pushing these things on me. So, like, I'm realizing now that there is a pattern here, right? This is the behavior that was modeled for me, right? And this is the behavior that I did not come to question cognitively in a conscious way until just this year, maybe just this month, to this degree. Like, there are some things that float in the back of your mind, always bugging you a little bit because you're not sure what's going on. And then, after you hold on to it for a period of time, which can be years or even decades sometimes, there's a moment where you're just like, there's a dot, here's a dot, I can connect the dots. And then once you connect 2 dots, you might be able to connect a 3rd dot. So maybe this is the same thing with socio-political movements as well. We are discontent in a lot of ways here. We hate seeing genocides happening elsewhere. We feel responsible, but we don't know what to do. How do we work on sussing out exactly what's causing us to have come to this place? In order to kind of undo or work out alternatives for us to heal what is definitely broken in a lot of ways. I don't think that I'm a broken person, but I've certainly been working off of very scattered, fragmented frameworks. And hopefully with more education, we can piece together something that's a little bit more holistically balanced. Education in social movements, political movements, and education within self and relationship dynamics. And in the age of the internet, all of these resources exist. Somebody wrote into my Instagram story yesterday, there are so many choices of things to do, and I don't know what to do, it's overwhelming, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, and I agree, right? But also, sometimes you just have to, like, pick a lane and drive down it for a while. And if you decide that you don't like that lane, there's always going to be an exit at some point. You can then change lanes, but just pick one. And I think about 8 years ago, I was going through a highly depressive period of my life where I wasn't happy of where I was in terms of living situation, of jobs, and my friend Abe was just like, you just have to experiment things. You just have to try new things. Because, like, clearly if this isn't working, then you just have to try. And he was right. And it was not easy as trying new things, because not only did I have to find the opportunities of new jobs, I also had to convince myself that, like, all the time I had sunken into restaurant work that I wasn't enjoying very much and didn't seem sustainable to me was not a waste, right? There is a very self kind of degrading cycle of thought loop that happens when I feel like I've failed at something. It's very discouraging, and it's telling me that, oh, you failed over such a long period of time, you'll never do it right. Why bother? And I think this is maybe the same mentality that causes us to disengage politically as well, because we see things like calling Congress not working, and we're just like, why bother? But that's not the only thing we can be doing. the fact that you tried it and tasted it is experience. That we always want things to work out and always want everything to end in a win is also a very capitalistic view of what we should be doing with our time on Earth. So it kind of really starts to engage you, body, mind, spirit, on how to negotiate your discontent and how to allow reality to not be so discolored by your own anxieties and insecurities. We're pretty resilient. We can go through a lot. So how can we reduce the pain that we make ourselves go through when nothing concrete in reality is forcing that on us? That's a privilege to not have that reality enforced on you. Okay, Dad says he's just departing, so he might be a little bit late. This is another trigger of mine, when people set a time and they can't follow through on it. But again, when I was younger, I blamed friends for disrespecting my time or for not valuing my friendship enough. But, it's a very egocentric way of thinking about things, and I think that comes from the fact that I had to be egocentric in a lot of ways because as a 7-year-old immigrant in America, where everybody was making fun of you or ignoring you, like, I was the only person who could help myself understand how to proceed. So how do I step out of that place of not only seeing things from my perspective and my insecurities and my triggers and my worries and my anxieties and my fears? This is a cultural gap, unfortunately. I just know that realistically, concretely, I know that I am not Chinese enough to know all of these things. And knowing that triggers an insecurity in me that's just like, you'll never be Chinese enough, you're probably doing something wrong right now. Which has led me to a period from, probably adolescent to now, where I've rejected so many facets of Chinese culture, including the way that we should be eating according to, traditional Chinese medicine dictates, to other silly things that may not be so silly anymore, because I simply rejected that identity out of a place of insecurity of not feeling Chinese enough. And I think it's this kind of insecurity that's leading me to feel so much stress, because I'm just like, okay, my house isn't prepared for guests, I don't really have any snacks for them, I don't really have any refreshments for them, I'm going to be a bad host, I'm already failing. Like, of course I would fail at being Chinese. And that's the kind of thought that made me get that stomach ache yesterday, on top of the, surprise details unfolding. So realizing that almost all of my stressors that cause me physical pain and tension is coming out of a place of feeling inadequate. And yeah, culture, gender, all of it, everything. I guess this first pot of tea will just be for me, because they won't be here immediately. Alright, well maybe I can make a little gingerbread thing, majig. Maybe. Let's see how this pear tastes. Should I puree the pear up and make like a pear gingerbread-y thing? And then I can drink the liquid. Okay, Sophia, I really wanted to operate like that. Sophia says, I really feel that the best and most genuine way to move through life is to assume and act like people are being honest and direct and truthful with me because I can't truly see their hidden feelings. True. And that's what I tried to do at Delish, and that definitely backfired. So, choose your audience. It's like trying to put on different clothes for different venues of events. Living is exhausting, y'all. There's too much brain power involved in all of this shit. How do we become a well-adjusted adult when we're constantly busy? Yet another point of the personal turning political. Why is it that we're all so fucking busy all the time? Okay, I need to use up this sour cream for surezies. It's time. Let me just make sure it's not completely disgusting already. Yeah, we're good. Always taste your ingredients. Okay, what would go into a gingerbread? Let's grate some ginger first. I don't know, my dad is probably going to set to arrive at an earlier time than his later time, but later than his earlier time. So I can't promise that we'll get anywhere, but I'm going to start prepping by grating some ginger up. Yeah, what is your actual age according to your birth certificate, and how old do you feel? That's something that I always think about. It's gonna be very gingery, this ginger cake. Whoop. Are you where you were at? Are you where you expected yourself to be at? Like mentally? I'm not talking like life situation wise. I'm not talking like kids, married, house, or any of those accomplishments. But were you expecting yourself to be mentally at a different place than you are now at your current age? I am going to add in some orange zest. Wow, mentally and spiritually way better off. Jealous. Listen, I don't just stab you, I stab myself first, okay? We all feel inadequate because we have so many standards we're supposed to fulfill. We have to kind of realize that it's the same thing when it comes to jobs too. They have all those qualifications up front, but if you're gonna wait until you fulfill all those qualifications before applying for a job, you're not gonna have a job, right? This society has made us liars. We have to lie by default. Even the employers are just writing a reach goal. I'm going to add in a little bit of sugar so that I can I don't even know why I have this on the scale, because the scale's not on. That's hilarious. The ginger and the orange zest, I'm just going to kind of rub them in a little bit. Feels potent. I'm gonna add in some black pepper too. I don't think a lot of people do black pepper, but the black pepper was amazingly delicious in my last cracker batch. I think black pepper in desserts, so super underrated. This is a very lovely sugar scrub too. I think what I'm gonna do is just cut up a few apples and offer a few oranges and make some tea for my dad. Now that nobody else is coming. Actually, you know what I really loved is I developed this pepper noose cookie for Delish, one of my last recipes before I got fired. That shit was delicious. I was really proud of that recipe. I don't remember who I ripped off for that one, but definitely ripped off some people. This is gonna be a super spicy cake. No regrets. I'm gonna use up this King Arthur. Aaron alluded to the fact that I don't pronounce Arthur correctly. I pronounce it like author, like the person who writes books. But this has ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, allspice. I'll probably also supplement with some burlap and barrel cinnamon. What up, Australia? Let's go in with like a whole tablespoon of this shit. We're going overboard. I'm also going to add in a little bit of ground anise. Wait, does anybody want to look up my pfeffernuss recipe on Delish and tell me what spices I have in there? Cinnamon. Where are you, cinnamon? Here you are. Yeah, King Arthur is great. So much spices going on in here. Yeah, Burlap and Barrel was on Shark Tank, indeedly. Let's add in some butter. And I'm going to add in the hot pear puree so that the butter will just melt naturally. I'm going to go in with roughly 6 tablespoons or so of butter. I think the pear is going to add quite a little bit of fattiness too. Whoa, Sophia, thank you. Cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, anise, nutmeg, allspice, black and white pepper, oh, white pepper, and cardamom. Okay, cardamom. Thank you for doing that. White pepper and cardamom. You guys are the best. You do everything for me. I'm so grateful. All right, now we're going to take out some of these pears, maybe the ones without stems, and puree. egg is bad? Is it that it floats on water? Because I just took from a friend's fridge these eggs that he wasn't going to use that expired in October. So I'm going to use a couple. Let's see if it floats. I'm pretty sure they're still good. They're not floating at the top, but I do hear gases escaping. Yeah, I do feel like they are standing at the bottom. So they are kind of like vertical, but yeah, I think it'll be fine. Dad's gonna be here in 10 minutes, so I'm not gonna be able to finish this cake, but thank you for being here. And working through my traumas with me. If there are any topics you want us to work through together, let me know. We can turn into the worst unqualified group therapy group ever. Ooh, vanilla. It tastes like vanilla. Wow. Yum. Thank you for all the well wishes. Thank you for, listening to me rant about family drama. Hopefully hey, who knows? Maybe I'll come back online tonight and finish baking this cake with y'all. That would be kind of cute. I'll definitely report back on the visit. Looks promising. Looks promising. All right, folks, you take care. Remember, be your best friend, not your worst enemy. And it's okay to hate yourself sometimes, but no, at the end of the day, you are just trying to protect yourself. Vitamins, water, suffer.